Hi there and welcome to another review. I'm your host Jose, and today we're going to be reviewing Dragon Ball Z's The Legacy of Goku. Legacy of Goku was the first Dragon Ball game on the Game Boy Advance, and boy did it turn a lot of heads on its debut. The game was developed by Webfoot Technologies, who took some liberties with the story, music, and gameplay. This caused the game to have a unique feel compared to its two sequels, for better or worse. Going over the story real quick, well, it's Dragon Ball. You really can't change it. This specific title covers the Saiyan and Frieza sagas, with memorable moments like Goku saving kitties and Goku planting trees on Namek. Yeah, as I said, Webfoot took some liberties on the story as a way to pad out the gameplay since it only covers such a small amount of the manga story. Unfortunately, they also got wrong parts of the original story either by not doing their proper research or just carelessness. For example, Goku learning the solar flare from this old man, or learning the Kamehameha from King Kai. Most of the padding out is harmless, but there's one section in particular that completely ruins most people's first experience with this game. This temple on Namek can be one of the most frustrating sections of any game I've come across. To get through it, you have to find these treasures. Two of them are outside, but the third one is somewhere in this temple. Then after you find it, you have to find where to place them and the exit. To get around this temple, you have to use these portals that have no indication on where they go. Fortunately, they always lead to the same place, so it's just a case of trial and error until you find your way out. But without a guide, get ready to see yourself getting sent back to the starting portal again, and again, and again, until you find the right sequence of portals that sends you to the final room. With the exception of one thing, the final treasure. No portal leads to the last treasure. Instead, this treasure is located in one of the most obscure places that someone would ever think to look, especially since there's no other part or item in the game that has to be obtained this way. The third treasure is located in the second room and found by going through this section of the wall. But who in the world would have imagined that you can do that? You can't do it any time before, so what makes this any different? I guess the devs weren't happy with the last hour they made us waste, that they decided to mess with us one last time. After you drop off all the treasures in the last room, they decide to drop off one last portal close to you. Goku does give you a little warning before going in, but if you decide to ignore it, the portal sends us one final time back to the beginning. They really wanted to rub salt in the wound with that one. But let's talk real quick about the controls. They're bad. Goku is stiff and super slow when he walks, and the only way to move faster is with his flying technique that runs out incredibly fast. You get more flying points by leveling up, which won't be a problem after going through that temple of frustration, but it's more of a novelty than something you can rely on for faster movement. The flying is limited, but can help you avoid getting hit since you're invincible while in the air. And trust me, anything that can help avoid damage in this game is a godsend, and really helps out, especially in the first part of the game, because the enemies you face hit like they went through Vegeta's gravity training themselves. They cause so much damage, and it doesn't matter what level you are. The combat in this game is so arbitrary because both the damage you give and receive is different with every hit. I don't know if this is caused by the messed up hitboxes or something else, but unless you can one-shot something, you'll be needing to use a lot of healing items. Herbs and senzu beans are the only consistent ways to heal, with one being more plentiful than the other. Herbs can be found throughout the stages and will respawn if you leave the screen and come back. Senzus are a little more rare and will not respawn once obtained. Their rarity correlates with how effective they are. Herbs heal a small amount of your life and senzus will fully restore your health. The damage inconsistency and controls are ultimately what make the game's difficulty a tough one, or that would be the case if it wasn't for one game-breaking technique I mentioned earlier. As soon as you get the solar flare, the game's difficulty is automatically gone. Every battle that you can't one-shot becomes a cycle of using the solar flare, getting some hits in, and running away. Rinse and repeat until you finish the game. Visually, the game is nice to look at, especially for the hardware. The character models all look like who they're supposed to, and the enemies can all be distinguished with the exception of these spirits, some who can be talked to but others can't, and there's no way to tell the difference. As I said in the beginning, the music department is another area where they took creative liberties. I would say they fit well within the Dragon Ball atmosphere, with catchy tunes that make this game at least pleasant to traverse through. There is one that I wanted to give a special mention to, and that's the Ginyu Force theme that plays when you're fighting them. This song that's playing right now will be the one thing that stays with me from an otherwise forgettable title. So here are my final thoughts on the Legacy of Goku. Overall, the game is a pain to get through, especially because of the controls and damage inconsistency. Unless you use the solar flare, then it becomes a repetitive and tedious bore of a game. Without a guide, it took me about 3 hours to beat the game, but half of that was walking around that Namekian temple. Once you know the way, you can probably cut that down to anywhere from an hour to an hour and 20 minutes. I'm gonna rate the Legacy of Goku with a 3, which on my scale places it on the you're gonna have a rough time spot, because I can confidently say that you will have a rough time playing this game. In whatever way you decide to play it, you will probably find very little enjoyment out of the gameplay itself. This was your host Jose, and I'll see y'all on the next review.